Okay, here we go. 64 from the homework, very similar to the one I gave you yesterday. We're looking for the value of n. I told you jk was 5, so we plug that in for the distance on the left side of the formula. So the distance is 5. And then underneath our radical, now I'm going to subtract my x coordinates. First pair of x coordinates, I have 3n and n. Again, we talked yesterday, the order you subtract them doesn't matter. I'm just going to make a decision here and say, hey, 3a minus n or 3n minus n, because I know that's going to give me a positive. All squared. Now, be careful what we did yesterday, right? You have to subtract the full y coordinate, just not half of it. So I'll do n plus, I don't know what you guys did. I'll do n minus 1 minus, now I'm just not going to write n plus 2, right? Because when I do that, we talked yesterday, you're just subtracting the n. I need to subtract the entire y coordinate. So like I did yesterday, I'll put some brackets around that. And I'll square it. So everyone's all right on the substitution so far before I start cleaning this up. Next up, that gives me 2n all squared. I'll get back to that. Hey, that's what it gives me. It does not give me this. All right, it does not give me 2n squared, because what am I squaring here? Well, I'm just squaring the n here, but I got to square the whole thing. Got to square the whole thing, and I'll get back to that in a second. All right, over here, let me clean this up. I get n minus 1 minus n, but not plus 2 anymore, minus 2. Okay, minus 2. Everyone's with me so far? We're okay? All right, here's the big part right here. Again, I can't write that 2n squared. It's 2n all squared. So I got to square the 2 and the n. So I should have a 4n squared here, 4n squared. And then over here, n's are going. See ya. Negative 3 squared?
9.
9. So I should have a 9 there. I cannot. I know you see a 4, a 9, and you're like, oh, I could take the square roots. This is not equal to 2n plus 3. Okay, that's not equal to 2n plus 3. And plus, yesterday, what was our step here? We got rid of the radical. How do I get rid of the radical? Square both sides. Square both sides. Square both sides. All right, we're moving. 25. The radical has been eliminated by squaring it. So I'm left with what's underneath. Any issues yet? Okay, move the 9 over. Move the 9 over. I get 16 equals 4n squared. What's your next step, you think? Okay, I could do. I would probably. You could take the square root of. I would probably divide by 4 though to get that n by itself. Yep. Divide by 4. Divide by 4. N squared equals 4, and then how do I get rid of the squared?
Square root both sides.
Take the square root, and as we talked yesterday, yes, part of the answer is 2. But plus or minus 2. What's up?
So you said you could square 16 equals 4n squared, but that equals 0, I'm pretty sure, doesn't it?
No, watch. 4n squared equals 16. If you didn't divide by 4, instead tried to square root it, here you go. 4n squared. That gives you 2n. Right? If you take the square root of that. Over here gives you plus and minus 4. Divide both sides by 2. Plus or minus 2. Good? Either way. Either way. Kevin and everybody else, we're okay on this one? We sure? All right, and then I assume I'm going to take a peek at 61. Yeah. All right, good. Okay, I like to challenge you guys whenever I can here. All right, so here's the deal. Make sure you understand the directions before I go over how I did it, because there's a couple different ways two different ways to do this. I got 0.18. I want to find a point somewhere on the x-axis that's 10 units away from it. Somewhere. I don't know where, but that's my job. Find out where it is. So what I did is I graphed 1,8, and then somewhere on the x-axis, I just put a random point. Doesn't have to be the correct point. I'm just going to put a random point there. Because when I connect it, I already know how long that line segment is. They have to be how far apart according to the directions? 10 units. So I at least know that that is 10 units long. And I also know, because I graphed over 1 up 8, I know this point right here that's got to be 1 on the x-axis, right? Because I went over 1 up 8 to graph it. So my goal right now is to figure out how far, this way actually, how far this way to the right do I have to go from 1 to get to that point? Do I have to go 10 units? Do I have to go 20 units? 26, 27? I don't know. That's my job. All right, because once I find out how far I need to go, I'll just add it to 1 and I'll be where I need to be. Is that okay? So how do I find that distance? This is where I was going to, I was hinting to you guys on the notes, make a right triangle out of it. Why? Well, I already know that's 10, and I went what? Over 1 and up how many to get to my point? 8, right? I went over 1, up 8, so this has to be 8, and now I'm missing how many sides? 1. Pythagorean theorem can find that side. Pythagorean theorem can find it. A squared plus B squared equals C squared. Just be careful. Remember what you plug in for C, the hypotenuse, the longest side, which is what up here? 10. The 8 can go in for A or B. Doesn't matter. And now here we go. And hopefully when I find the answer, it'll make sense. You move the 64 over. I get A squared equals 36. And then what do you do from here?
Square root.
So take a look now at my triangle. That distance is 6. So from 1 on the x-axis, I'm at 1 on the x-axis. I have to go over 6 units if I want to be 10 units away from 1/8. So think about it right now. If I'm at 1 on the x-axis and I go 6 units to the right, where do you end up on the x-axis? 7, don't you? Everyone, you end up at 7, and that was one of the answers. 7, 0. Or there was 2 points actually, because did I just have to go to the right? Where else could I have gone and still been 10 units away? I could have gone to the left. So I'm at 1, and now I go, be careful now, I'm at 1, and now I go 6 units to the left. Where am I on the x-axis now? -5.
So, wait, I'm sorry.
Yep, go ahead.
So
That's one way to do it. You could have anybody tried to use distance formula. You could have tried to use distance formula and get the correct answer. That was some hardcore algebra, but it could have been done. Go ahead.
So would A equals 6 there be plus or minus?
Yes, it would. And that's what I did, right? I went plus 6, and then I went minus 6. Correct. Yep. Anything else? Or anybody try the distance formula that didn't go well? Because you could have made this problem look like this one here. It was a little bit more hardcore algebra. I think there was some factoring involved. Whoa. But yeah, you could have done it. There was some factoring. Anything else we want to talk about? We okay? Now look, I'll be honest with you guys. Would I give you a problem like this or 64 on a test or a quiz? Probably not. All right, but I just like challenge you on homework problems. All right, this is not the level I would go that high on a test or quiz, but definitely look, number 32, yeah, that's a definite automatic honors level question. Okay, just like we did the Kate and Ben question yesterday, how many yards apart are their houses? Definitely, that's an honors level question. Excuse me, I could put on. Anything else? Okay, here's how I'm going to do this right now. I am going to come around and check. If you did it, I'll give you the credit. If you didn't, because of the circumstances, the last 24 hours, that's fine. Show it to me when you can. I understand. Okay, so if you got it today, great. I'll take it and accept it for credit. But if not, I get it. Show it to me when you can. All right, very understanding here today. Okay, thanks, guys. Also, if you need a compass or a straight edge, I got some up here. All right, you'll need both for today's class. Not until the end, so just leave it off to the side on your desk. All right, I don't want distractions playing with it. Sir. So anybody listening to this at home, I'm changing the schedule a little bit because of the events in the last couple of days. Today, I'm going to teach, and hopefully you guys at home are taking notes on the midpoint. Tomorrow, what we'll do is we'll clean everything up and get ready for the quiz instead of going on to a new topic. And then Monday, I'll we'll take the quiz like usual. All right, so tomorrow's kind of like a review day, a rare review for quiz day. All right, moving on. Final day of what's on the quiz. This is day 5. 1 through 5 is on the quiz, so this is the last topic that you'll see on the quiz. And it's called a midpoint. Midpoint. We're still dealing with the segments. Yesterday, what'd you do? You found the length of a segment, right? Using the distance formula or Pythagorean theorem. Today, I want to find the middle of a segment. Where is the middle point of a segment? Okay, and again, we don't need any of the compasses to the end of class, so keep those away off to the side. So let's first show you, by using a diagram, what a midpoint is. So can you guys, underneath the word conclude, just do line segment AB for me? Hopefully we're good, well-versed right now. We can draw a line segment AB pretty easily and quickly. M is the midpoint. All right, let's talk now. If it's a midpoint, it is right in the middle of the line segment. It breaks your line segment up into 2 congruent line segments. So eyeball this right now, please. We don't need to measure it. Put M somewhere where you think it's the middle of the line segment. So that is what a midpoint is. It is, yes, it's the middle of a line segment. More importantly, I need you guys to remember, it cuts the line segment into 2 congruent parts. So what can I put on my diagram then that shows that? Whoa, what markings do we put? Hash marks, right? We put the hash marks. So to really make this a midpoint officially, there we go. Okay. Now that tells me M is the midpoint. It cuts a line segment into 2 congruent line segments. All good. All right, let's put some algebra to it now. You guys can use the same diagram if you want. All right, I'm going to draw a different one, but if you want to use the same diagram, it's still line segment AB and midpoint M. But now let's set up an equation here. Line segment M. Those are congruent. All right, the length of AM, 2x plus 1, so we'll throw that up there. The length of BM, 3x minus 4. Find the lengths of AM, BM, and AB for me. Here, God, oh man. Here's your mindset right now. 2 days ago, we did a whole bunch of these. Don't write this down on your paper. Remember what you did? You're like, oh, I take one segment, add it to the other, and then just set it equal to the whole thing. Got a problem now, don't I? I don't know how long the whole thing is. I never told you. So I can't set it equal to anything. Can't do it this way now. Got to find a different way to set up. Everyone see that? 2 days ago, this is what we did. Can't do that because I don't know how long AB is. Good? All right, well, got to set up something else then. Got to think more outside the box. What do you already know about AM and MB?
They're congruent.
They're congruent. They have the same length. So what can I do with 2x plus 1 and the 3x minus 4?
Make them equal.
Set them equal. There we go. Perfect. Since they're equal in length, I can set them equal in the equation. So don't get brainwashed that, oh, it has to be this plus this equals this. No, depends on the problem. Depends on the problem. And hopefully that's nice and easy for you guys to solve. And since I don't have everybody here, I'm not going to do numbers today because I'll call in a bunch of numbers that aren't even here and it's a waste of time. So just go ahead and yell out for me. So we got x equals 5 here. All right, wasn't looking for x. You need it, but wasn't looking for it. Got to find measure of AM now. Measure of AM. So take your 5, plug it back in. AM has a length of, what are we getting? 11, yep. Plug it back in to find BM. Length of BM. Better be, huh? Right? Makes sense. It better be. Right? It better be 11 because M's the midpoint. And now I combine both of them to get the length of AB. And we have 22. Yep. Good work. Questions using it algebraically. So stop and think about a problem before you start writing down any equation. Because sometimes, yeah, you'll add them up and set it equal to the whole thing. And here, in this case, we set them equal to each other. I want to do the same thing I did with you guys yesterday when we did distance formula. Let's put it on a graph now. Let's find the midpoint on a graph. So go ahead, take a time, do number one, plot point, or excuse me, line segment AC. Line segment, one job, line segment AB. Please be aware, I'm looking for the midpoint. This has nothing to do about distance. You should be giving me a point here, an x coordinate with a y coordinate, midpoint. So the answer here is going to be an xy coordinate somehow. All right, so let's see. How can I find the midpoint of AB? Well, let's see how long is AB. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So where's the midpoint going to be located? How many units from each one? 3 units away. So let me just graph it. 1, 2, 3. There it is. Now you just got to tell me what that point is. That's the midpoint. And that point is, if we count over and up, how many? 4, 4. All right, one more time. Let's do it one more time. Now CD, a horizontal or a vertical line segment. That is 1, 2, 3, 4 units long. So I'll go 2 away from either C or D. There's my midpoint. And what is that coordinate there? 3, -1. All right. So are we understanding that what a midpoint is?
Yeah.
Where it's located, what it does. Where did we run into problems yesterday with distance? Remember, we could count everything and find the distance, and then we ran into a problem when I gave you a diagonal line, right? So I needed to give you the midpoint, the distance formula or pi fact to use. Same thing's going to happen here. If it's a diagonal line, you just can't count and cut it in half and find that point. So I need a second and final formula before the quiz called the midpoint formula. Much easier than distance. Distance was pretty involved, right? Square root, bunch of stuff underneath. Midpoint is not that involved. Here's your set of parentheses and a comma in between for your x and y coordinate. And it makes sense here. When I write it up, you're going to be like, oh, yeah, midpoint. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to take my x's, add them together. So there's x1 and x2 again. Add them together. We're in honors here. I'm trying to find the midpoint. So what do you think I'm going to do to that? Cut it in half. Divide by 2. Yep. Take your x's, divide by 2. What do you think the other part's going to look like? Y's, divide by 2. Yep. Add your y's, divide by 2. And the answer still stays the same as it was for distance. Am I going to give you this formula Monday? No, I am not. So you have midpoint and distance formula. They're your formulas you need to remember for Monday. Yeah, this one's not bad. The only thing, it drives me nuts, but kids put minus signs in between. You're thinking about something else. Maybe you're thinking about distance because we subtract them in distance, right? So, yep.
So do you use this when you just have the midpoint, or like
You're finding the midpoint of a
Oh.
line segment that's not horizontal or vertical, and you can't count it. All right, just like we're going here with number one. I don't think anybody's graphing these 2 points. All right, I don't think so. Good luck doing that. Let me know how that goes. All right, how accurate you are. So instead, it's probably a little bit better decision to use the midpoint formula here on number one. Okay, so flip it over, take a look at those points. So I'm not even going to sniff a piece of graph paper here. I'm just going to go right to my midpoint formula, find the middle of the line segment AB.
5/16.
Oh, relax here, relax. What are your 2 x coordinates you're going to add together?
2 and 1.
Oh, relax, that's good.
2 and 1, half and 3.
Okay, if you want to turn those into decimals, 2.5 and 3.25, you can, or you can keep it like it is, 2.5 plus 3 1/4, all over 2, comma, what y coordinates you're going to add together. Now you can go ahead.
1/4 plus -1.
Or -1 or plus -1, yep, whatever floats your boat there. Divided by 2. Have you guys ever learned on the NumWorks calculator how to do a mixed fraction like 2.5 or 3 1/4? All right, it's this one's a little involved here. Let me get to my numworks calculator. All right, so you hit your division. Ants, I don't want that. I want a fresh one right there. Okay, so I'm going to put the fractions on top, 2 on the bottom. And then when you get this, I think you got to press your up button here. Okay, you got to press your up button and then hit the division sign again and again and again. And now see how you can add in a mixed number. Okay, or what I did in my second period class is I didn't worry about dividing it by 2. I just did 1, 2, 3, and now I can type in 2.5 plus 1, 2, 3 division signs, 3 1/4. Hold on. And I get 23/4. And then right in here, you can divide that by 2 and get your answer. Yes.
And you can also click the toolbox button and go to arithmetic, and
Yep.
then go down to mixed fraction.
And it'll put it up there for you.
Yeah.
Yep. Mm-hmm. Okay, so which one do I want? I don't care at this point, as long as this is not a full, like, long, non-repeating decimal. So if you guys want to put 23/8 as your x coordinate or 2.875, be consistent though, right? If you put a decimal x coordinate, put a decimal y. All right, just be consistent. I don't care what you use here, just as long as that decimal is not running on forever. So I got 23/8 here, comma. Now let's do the y coordinates, 1/4 and -1. So I got 1/4 plus a -1, and then I'm going to divide that by 2. -3/8 should be my y coordinate. Again, you can leave the decimal versions, just make sure they're both decimals. Everyone all right? Good? Midpoint formula? I'm not going to spend long on I don't need you to find 8 midpoints here for me. I think 1's good enough here. You know the formula, plug it in, use your calculator. Here's what I really want to do to take it up to that honors level. How about I give you the midpoint? I'm already going to let you know what the midpoint is and an endpoint. So what's the other missing endpoint then? All right, so that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to give you the midpoint and an endpoint. How about the other endpoint? I just want you guys to get a visual here of what I'm talking about. So I got this line segment DG. Line segment DG, M's in the middle. So we can put our congruent marks. I know this is not on a graph, but bear with me. M is -1, 5. And D is 1/4. Everyone see what I'm looking for now? Understand the question? What is the other one? Now, I could use the midpoint formula. I could. All right, I could, but I'm not, because I have a more efficient way to do this. Where's the midpoint again? Before I do this, remind me, where's the midpoint
In
again?
the middle.
Where is it, everybody? Where's the midpoint?
In the middle.
In the middle. Right in the middle. Right in the middle. So however far I go from D to M, I got to go that same amount from M to G. Got to stay the same. Let's start on the x-axis right now. You are on the x-axis of a graph. You start at 1. And then you move your feet all the way over to -1. So I'm at 1. I went to -1. How many units did I just travel?
-2.
2 in the negative direction. Does everyone agree? Yes? 2 in the negative direction. And you guys said, hey, M's in the middle. So guess how many units I got to go to get to G now? Another 2 in the negative direction. So I'm at -1. I got to match it, I got to go 2 to the left again. And where do I end up at? -3. Yeah, it's not bad. Call it the little skip method. You got to match it, right? Do the same thing for the y's now. Where am I on the y-axis? Where do I start on the y-axis? 4. This one's not a tough one, right? I go to 5. How many units did I travel?
1.
Down or up?
Up.
Up.
6.
Up 1. Do it again, because it's in the middle. Go up 1. Where do you end up at?
6.
+6. So there's point G. Yes.
You don't need to show any other work.
You're showing work for me right here. That's good enough for me. Now, I know some of you are studs and you want to make sure every single problem you have it 100% correct. How could I check if that's really the actual point? Go ahead, Tess. We have.
Use the midpoint formula to fix the midpoint.
Take D, we already know. Take what you think is the answer, plug it into the midpoint formula. You better get negative 1.5. All right, so that's a quick check if you're doing it right. Use the midpoint formula to see if it comes back. Questions, comments, any concerns before we move on to your compass now? All right, here we go. Before we start anything here, I got to go over directions because directions are going to change from time to time and I don't want to waste your time. Sometimes the directions will say construct this. Construct. Anytime you see the word construct, that's time to use the compass. Sometimes, though, I don't want to waste time using the compass. So I'll put the directions draw or sketch there, which means just take your darn writing utensil and draw the diagram. You don't need a compass. The only time you need a compass is when you see the word construct, because what we're doing is called constructions. So what I want you to do right now, we're not ready to do a full construction yet. You guys have some white space off to the right. I want you to practice using your compass because some of you are now using this for the first time. All right. So what I want you to do, let me bring mine up. I want you to go off to the side here. Don't get into here, this area here. Go off to the side and practice just making what we call arc marks. We will never make a full circle with these, so don't worry about that. We're just going to be making arc marks. And let me bring my actual one up. I like to hold the compass from the top very loose. Hold it loose. If you hold it too tight and start squeezing the life out of it, you're going to start shaking a little bit. So keep it loose. Make sure the point is on your paper. And just start rotating your wrist around to see if you can make some arc marks. Some people like to hold it down and turn the paper instead. It's up to you. All right, it's up to you. And do not get frustrated. We're going to be doing a ton of these. Don't get frustrated if you're not that great at it now. Or your arcs look a little shaky. That's okay. It's okay. You guys are just doing this for the first day. How's it going for the first time there, rookies?
Poorly.
It's all right.
Pretty easy.
You'll find a way that works for you. Hold the compass at a different spot. I always do it at the top, but that's just me. Do what's going to work for you. All right, are we ready for our first construction here? I just want to make sure what time. All right, we got plenty of time. Ready for your first construction. It's the easiest one. I start you guys out with the easiest construction. Because we'll probably end up doing, I'm going to say probably 15 constructions, 15 to 20 constructions by the time the year's over. We do them all throughout the year, just not in Unit 1. What we're going to do right now, just to show you what we're going to do before we do it. Everyone sees I've given you line segment AB. Construct. Use your compass. A segment congruent to it and call it CD. What's congruent mean again? They have the same length, right? So that's what we're about to do using your compass, not your ruler. We don't measure anything in this class. So it's not like, oh, this is 7 inches. Let's go over here and make 7 inches. No. That's not how we do it. The only thing this bad boy is used for is a straight edge. That's it. We don't measure with it. Grab your straight edge right now, please. Grab your straight edge. Everyone see the point I gave you here? Everyone see the point? Because that's where that's going to be point C, one end point of our line segment. Okay, that's one end point of our line segment. Okay, now I want you to take your straight edge and make a line segment that's longer than that one. Longer than the one we're trying to copy. Okay? You guys can eyeball that. So please grab your straight edge. Coming from C, make a line segment that is longer than AB by looks. You don't need to measure it. All good? Now take this compass. First time. Go ahead. Take your compass. And what I want you to do is I want you to put one endpoint on A and open your compass up to the length of line segment AB. No markings need to be made here. No markings. Open it up to the length of line segment AB. Everyone's got it? Okay, do not open or close your compass from there. Move your compass point over to point C. Move your compass point over to point C. And you're going to make, it doesn't have to be a big arc. Make an arc that intersects your line segment. All right, it doesn't have to be a big one. I just need an arc that intersects your line segment. And where that arc intersected, guess what point we're going to call that? Oh, don't watch midpoint.
Oh, shoot.
What did it want us to call our new segment? C,
D.
D. So we're going to call that D. And you have just constructed a congruent segment. Not that bad. It's going to get a lot more involved. So I open up my compass, the length of AB, come on over, and swing an arc so I know where the end of the segment is. If I pulled somebody from the hallway right now and said, hey, these two line segments are congruent, they're going to be like, no, they're not. I don't see hash marks on there. Yep, let's go. Let's put them on so we can say, hey, now these are official. These are officially congruent. And remind me what class you take again in here? Honors. Let's say I threw this at you. What if I wanted a line segment that was double this length? How would you continue this construction? I want a line segment that is double the length of AB. You have one that is the length of AB. Go ahead. Yeah, slide it over and make a new arc mark. And now you have one that's double the length. Okay? Questions? Comments? Concerns? We all good? Okay. One more. All right, how do I find the midpoint now using my compass? No ruler. We don't measure and go halfway. This one's I like this one a lot here. All right, take your compass. You don't need to make anything extra. We're going to do it right on the line segment. Find the midpoint of AB. So you're going to put your compass point on either endpoint A or endpoint B right now. Put your compass on endpoint A or endpoint B. Open up your compass. This is the most important part. Open up your compass more than half its length. Okay, so open up the compass more than half the length of AB. Doesn't matter, it's more than half. Doesn't matter how far you go. And what you want to do now, and this might be tough for some of you because you're just using your compass for the first time, I want an arc about a half circle size arc. Not a full, about a half circle size arc right there. Figure out how to hold it. How's it going to work for you? And then do not open or close your compass. Keep it that same opening that you're drawing that arc with. Keep that same opening. Yep, take your time. I know you guys are nervous about making mistakes. It's okay. You'll figure out how to hold it. Now, go over the other endpoint. Move your compass over to the other endpoint. And you're going to do another half circle size arc, but it's got to intersect the first one in two spots. So make another arc coming from the other endpoint that intersects the first one in two spots. I call it the fish construction. It's like a fish a little bit. It's got to be a one above, one below. Yep, can't just be one above. And you'll see why on the last step. It's got to be 2 points of intersection. Grab your straight edge. Line up those 2 points of intersection that I needed. And you can draw a line right through it. That line's got a special name. I'm not going to bog you down with its vocabulary term. That'll be for after the quiz. But you did just find the midpoint because that line goes through the midpoint of AB. So go ahead and make your point. We'll call it M for midpoint. And probably one last thing I'm going to need on that diagram that shows me that's the midpoint. And not the word midpoint, showing what's a midpoint do, splits a segment up into two congruent parts. All right, so show me the parts are congruent. Now, this is the most important part for today. I totally understand. You go home and you just blank on what the steps were to do this. All right, it's going to happen. All right, I have something for you on Classroom that'll help you out when you're at home and you forget those steps. Myself, Miss Linehan, who's the other honors geometry teacher, has created a YouTube page with every single construction we'll do this year for you to click on and review so you remember the steps. On Classroom, this is the very first thing on Classroom. You go to classwork, very first thing on there. Here you go, take a peek. So let's say tonight you totally blank on, what was that second step or the first step of the midpoint? Just search through the videos. Where's our midpoint one here? There it is, perpendicular bisector and midpoint. You click on it, watch it. Oh, that was the step I was forgetting. Okay, so don't make it an excuse that you forgot the steps. You can always access any of the YouTube videos through Classroom. Questions from you guys? All right, tonight's homework, you'll see half of it's in the packet right below. You can do all those constructions right below there. All right, you can do those constructions right below, and then obviously there's textbook homework you do where you've been doing the textbook work. Okay, so if you want to get going on that right now, and hey, bring all your questions tomorrow. Tomorrow's not a new day. It's just a review day. I'm not doing anything new now until Tuesday after the quiz. Okay, so if there's construction help you need tomorrow, bring it. Midpoint help, bring it tomorrow. Okay, Ted, go ahead.
So when we're doing that on a quiz, do you want us to erase?
No, thank you. Darn it, thank you very much. Leave all marks, because that's how I grade it. I literally take my own compass. Oh, did they go more than half? Is it the same distance? So yes, leave all your construction marks. Great question. Okay, leave them all. Never erase anything. Okay, we'll see everybody tomorrow.